So first of all, welcome to BritAsia TV.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, it's amazing to have you here. Squid Games contestant here with us today. So, okay, let's just get into it. Did you watch the actual show when it came out?
I did, and I loved it. When I watched the show, I'm naturally quite competitive. I like to do a lot of sports, play a lot of tennis and cricket. So I just love the fact that there were challenges. But when I saw the first person die in red light, green light, I was like, okay, this is pretty cool.
This is a bit extreme.
Yeah, this is a bit extreme, but no. So when I saw the ad for Squid Game, the challenge, I was like, okay, I've got to get on this because I wanted to win. Like, you know, when
there was a big cash prize.
4.56 million, huge. The casting producer asked me, why do you want to do this? I was like, I want to win, right? Straight up. Like, you know, the camera time, okay, I'm not too bothered. Like, I'm happy with like no camera time as long as I get to the end.
Had you done anything on camera before or in the media?
Yeah, a little bit. Like, I think I was on the news a few times, like talking about some stuff, but nothing kind of reality TV, like, and far from it. Like, you know, I'm a doctor by trade. So when my family and friends, friends I didn't really talk, like, maybe I talked to a couple of friends, close friends, but we weren't allowed to say. But my family were like, are you sure you want to do this? You know, Indian parents as well.
Well, I think you were going to die in red light, green light.
So basically when I came out, apparently my mum was like worried sick. Like when she read the papers, like, you know, it was really cold and filming, etc. Yeah. She was generally worried that I was dead.
Oh my God. They're gonna kill us.
Yeah, exactly. You know, really dramatic. You know, the Indian programs, it was like slow motion and all of that. Like, yeah, exactly. I can just imagine it. So my mum was, she was worried. My dad was like cool about it. He was like, yeah, whatever. But no, it was an incredible experience. And I'm sure we'll talk more about it.
So when did you actually start filming this? Because it's only just come out.
Yeah.
But what was the process like?
Yeah, so it was like a several month process for kind of getting onto the show. I sent a video, so we had to do like a 1 minute video. So I just took my phone out and I just did one take.
Yeah.
And I just sent it. And the casting producer then got back to me and said, you know, we want to interview you. And then there were several interviews after that. We had like psychology checks because
to make sure you were mentally strong to endure what we're going to talk about.
Exactly. Yeah. So it was obviously there were a lot of physical challenges, but also mental challenges. So they needed to screen people and make sure like everyone's mentally actually strong to kind of take part. So after all of that, then we found out, okay, we've been selected, and apparently there were over 100,000 applications for this. And they selected 456. So that in itself, just a cool flex, you know.
It's a flex. It's a flex.
So yeah, it was incredible. That was a process.
So your family knew. Who else were you not allowed to tell?
That's it really. I told one really, really close friend who I could trust, because like we had like strict instructions from like Netflix and NDAs and whatnot. So yeah, I think like 3 or 4 people knew. That's including my family. That's it. So when I was gone for about 2 and a bit weeks, like people were messaging me on WhatsApp, and like, you know, when you see like last scene, it was like stuck on a date like for a week or 2, and people like, I was dead.
He's dead. He's gone.
Not responding or whatever. So when I came out, like my WhatsApp just broke. Right, I had to like delete it and then re-download it.
So at that point, could you tell people where you were, what you were doing, or still not?
No.
So what
I was like, I just took leave. Like, I was
mental health break.
Yeah, you know, resting and recuperating.
Yeah,
you know, just.
What did you tell people at work actually then?
Yeah, we're allowed to take leave. So you know, I just blocked all my kind of annual leave, and I was just away. So you know, people don't really need to know where you were.
Don't need to be too much in your business, you know.
I like to keep my work separate, you know. Anyway, so yeah, it was fine.
So at what point did they find out you were on the show, when it came out?
Yeah, I think just like last week, when the episodes came out, and they were like, so people were messaging me, there's someone who looks like you're on the show. Like, because they'd never believe like I'm on the show. And, you know, I got pretty far actually. I can say it now. So I got to the top 30, right? out of 4, 5, 6. Only British Asian in the top 30. Just saying that as well. Another flex. And yeah, so as you sort of get through, you start to be noticed more because there are only 30 people left. They were like, okay, this looks exactly like you. Oh, it is you. What are you doing here?
When did you do this?
Yeah, exactly. So, it's, as I say, a once in a lifetime opportunity. It was amazing.
Okay, so now let's get into
The games.
So it was 2.5 weeks that you were there.
Yeah, just
Yeah?
2 weeks, yeah.
So what was like your first memory? What was the process? I want you to talk me through everything.
Okay. All right. So we were invited to a hotel. I won't name it just for...
No free promo here.
Yeah, exactly. You know. Got to the hotel and they had... Obviously, it's a hotel for the general public, but we had to be like, not talking to anyone. And,
Okay.
And then they had the team, the Squid Game team, kind of just registering you. So many people, and even at that point, I was like, okay, he's a competitor.
Were you trying to suss people out?
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. Like I was locked in, and I can say this on camera. I wanted to win, right? So as soon as I got there, I was like zoned in. I was like crazy person. I was like, sussing people out. Who's like built, and because I had to be physically tough.
Yeah.
And then we got registered and everything, and then it was a really strict process. We weren't allowed to speak to anyone, like even the fellow contestants, and we were like sent to our rooms, and they started the process even then. So the food was like really basic.
Yeah.
Like that.
How basic are we talking?
Basic, like just some really tasteless like scrambled egg.
Like just salt and pepper on it.
That's
wow.
it. Right, and you had to take the food to your room. So you come down in like blocks. So they will say, okay, next 30 minutes is player number 90 or 100 to 200. So you come down.
So at this point, you saw each other.
Yeah, you saw each other. So so you took your food, you went back up, and that was it. And we were isolating as well, COVID and everything.
Yeah.
So you had to go into the show. And imagine being diagnosed with COVID like a day before. That was it. And actually, I think someone did get diagnosed, because they like stepped out or something. I don't know the details, but there were also people like sleeping together, and they were removed as well before the show.
So this is even before the show.
Before the show.
Oh my God! Like,
Imagine.
how many?
So crazy.
That's a different topic.
Yeah, exactly. And they were like reserve players who didn't make the initial cut, and because these people who just didn't follow the rules, they were actually drafted into the 4, 5, 6. Can you imagine for them? And some of them like flew from like the US and other countries. Like for them, it was like amazing. But so yeah, this happened for like 3 days. And then on the kind of day of the games, so we were woken up super early. Like I'm saying 3:30 in the morning, right? And we were told that it's going to be a long day. So we went down, registered and everything, and then into these buses, and then we drove to Bedford where the filming.
So you weren't kidnapped like
No.
the show.
No,
Okay, good.
no gas mask, no nothing. So went up to Bedford, and they have the the hangars there where they film like Batman and like these huge productions. Rihanna's done music videos there, and etc. So that was where the first game took place, like red light, green light. And the set was incredible. Right?
So did you go straight into the first game?
No. So we got there and there were lots of waiting around. And that's one thing I realized about reality TV. There is so much waiting around, right, before anything happens. And the filming takes so long. And I'll tell you about about this. Right. But we were waiting for like hours and hours. And the game actually started. So we got there like super early, like 7:30 or 8. And the game actually started in the afternoon, and there were all these like checks, and like we were told about the rules, etc. So it was basically the size of a football pitch, like the actual set for red light.
God.
It looked exactly the same as a real show. So the doll.
How big was the doll?
Massive, right? Doll at the end, the head would kind of rotate. There were 2 guards at the end, and then. But what made it tough, it was super cold. I think it was like -3 or 4 that day, right? So they gave us like hand warmers beforehand, And then there was like the small tent, and like we were like huddled together trying to get like, conserve like body
energy.
because we knew what was about to come. And what they don't show on the show is how tough it was. Like, so in the show you see 5 minutes and it's done. We filmed for like 7 to 8 hours, right? And so my strategy was like not to be, I was going to say the idiot at the front who would like just run out, not expecting, not knowing what's coming. And actually all the people who were like, oh, we need the camera time. And like, there were some people like that. That was not me. I was like, I'm here to win.
I'm here for the money.
Right. So I need to win. I don't give a shit about the camera time. I need to get through to the next round. So I was right at the back of the pack, right? So the first round, the doll, sang the song, the Korean song, and then turn around. And then, so as we moved as a group, the first line, most of them just got, eliminated in that first round. And I'd barely made it to the start line.
Oh, wow.
Right. But then it sunk in how tough this is going to be, because they had to make the process so fair. So we had like, I think they had like motion detectors and like cameras. Like, it was really well done. But they had to scan every little data point for every single person, right, in between the rounds. So we were waiting there up to about 40 minutes, standing still, right, and not able to move. As we moved as a group, the first line, most of them just got, eliminated.
So in that point of time, the game's still going on, even though it's them doing the checks?
Correct. As we moved as a group, the first line, most of them just got, eliminated in that first round. And I'd barely made it to the start line.
Oh, wow.
Right? I basically messed up. So my pose was my front leg was out in front, and I had a massive sort of gap, and I was like, what am I doing now? Right? So I had to stand there for like good 25, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
My legs like were shivering at this point, right? Because it was so cold, right? And my strategy was like hands in pocket because I couldn't take them out. It was so cold. And at that point, you like from a peripheral vision, you see people just leaving. Either they were eliminated or they just couldn't take it. So you had to leave, right?
So at that point, you're out of the game, period.
You're out of the game, yeah. If you move, you're out, right? And they have these, they gave us like these squibs, they call them. So these are like these packs with ink in. So we didn't get shot, basically, which is good. Which is good.
That's good to know.
Yeah, my mum was happy. Right? If you were eliminated, this thing would just go off and the ink would just explode.
Oh, wow.
Right, in your onto your shirt.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of these people are like leaving, and these were people in the tent who were like, okay, this is a strategy, like telling everyone, okay, this is what you have to do. And I still yeah, that worked out.
What happened to the strategy?
That worked out for you.
Yeah.
It just became tougher and tougher. And then I realized, okay, I've got to make ground because the time was running out as well. But there were like now bodies like in front of me, like people were being eliminated because you just had to drop down.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
And if you were on the side, like you could just leave. But if you were kind of in the middle, you couldn't just get up and leave, right? Because the cameras are on, etc. So you just have to lay there. And then, if you're running, you don't want to trip up over them, because if you trip and move, that's it. You're gone as well.
Yeah.
So I have to be like super careful and like make sure that I land and stop in a pose that I can hold for like 30, 40 minutes.
Oh my God.
So none of these kind of big stretches. So it was like, and then when you're like standing still, it gets really boring as well, right? Like mentally, like we're used to like on phones, like, getting notifications and like, we don't have attention spans. Like,
No.
So for 40 minutes, I had to like develop a strategy to just remain sane, right? And endure the cold, and my body's shivering and I've got to stay still. But I was thinking, okay, I cannot quit. And I don't quit. So basically what I was doing was looking at a spot on the ground and then flicking my gaze from the spot to the doll. And I was just doing that with obviously moving my head, just moving my eyes. And I did that for 30, 40 minutes. And in my head, just counting like numbers and like thinking about good things. And like, it was just like, I was like, okay,
go to my happy place.
I was like, I have to go through. It took 8 hours for me to complete that. And
And in the show, you don't see, like, I'm
You don't
just
see
saying,
any of that.
8 hours would take
Okay.
up the whole thing.
Yeah. So there was a girl, I think there are TikToks on this,
Yeah.
like this girl like in a squat position, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in the show, they've done her a little bit dirty because it's like 10 seconds of like holding that pose and she's like, I can't do
I
it.
can't do it, yeah.
But she was probably in that pose for like 35 minutes, right? So that's the thing that you don't see. And you see like beautiful clouds and like it's sunny. It's not. It's like -4, right? And we're all shivering. We're cold. People are having like snot drip down, but they couldn't do anything. It was
Oh
like,
my, that's not my worst nightmare.
it was
Oh
just
my
like messy,
God.
you know,
Oh.
it's so messy. And one thing that happened, so I had this semi-famous wrestler, like with blue hair, and I think you see her on the show. So we were like together, like egging each other on, because you had to like form
Alliances, yeah.
like really from the beginning, because that game was so tough. So we were like mentally like keeping each other going. So we were like, you know, almost together for like 6-7 hours, and then that's the line. So we're like super close now. Next round, I'm gonna go through. I don't know what happened. Like she just moved ever so slightly, and bang,
No.
she was eliminated right before the line.
No.
So like 6-7 hours, I was like, oh shit. Like that was tough for her. And I think like she was just like crying, etc. But I was like focused. I was like, I need to get through. And then one thing again you don't see on the show is for that round, the round I crossed, they sped the music up, right? So everyone had the music in their head, so they could kind of time it right. So it goes, I won't sing it. But
We all know it.
yeah, exactly. So they sped it up, and you know, for the people who were closer to the line, so me, you know, a couple of my mates, we got through, right? But only just, right? And I was really worried. I was like, okay, I'm going home, and I was like, this is gonna be so embarrassing. Like, you know, I'm back at work, and people are like, oh, I thought you were meant to be away. It's like, I can't. So I was like stressing, but there were people behind us, and you know, one of my mates, 198, we'll talk about it. There was a couple of girls behind us, and they were like, "Do you think we can make it next round?" And we were like, "Yeah." And you know, the music had played out; it would have been fine, but like it was so quick, and they basically just so jumped over. And then we were all in this line, waiting for the adjudication to happen. They don't show this on camera, but basically, I think 15 or 16 people who crossed, like 12 got blasted, eliminated. After crossing the line, it was like bang, 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 bang. And there were 4 people who survived. So me,
Oh my
a
God.
couple of my mates, and one other girl. And we were sitting like in the line. I was chatting to you know, someone on my right and on my left. And people on either side of me, both their packs went up, bang. And the ink actually went on me as well. And so I was like, shit, what's just happened? Am I still in? And then the lady announced, you know, player 90, or basically I'd made it, basically. So we kind of, we were so lucky at that point. But yeah, for those people, 8 hours being out in the cold, crossing the line, and then
being a little, no.
that was pretty tough.
I would be fuming.
But yeah, we went back, and then we went to the dorms, the dormitory, where we stayed for 2 and a bit weeks. But yeah, that is the toughest thing I've ever done in my life, and probably will ever do, physically, mentally. Like, you couldn't give up,
Yeah.
and it was -4, and your body was shivering, but you couldn't move. Like, you know, snot dripping. It was a mess, but you just had to get through.
Oh my God. It sounds actually so traumatic.
It was.
But like, you know, like reality TV, we know it is a controlled environment, things are manipulated. But just from what you've told me from this one game, they have made it as close to the real experience
without the
as they, without dying and actually being shot. They
could have taken it to the next level, you know. We were introduced to that, but like,
by the way, you are going to die.
Yeah, that would not work out. But no, it was fully immersive. Like, you felt like you were in the real game. Like, I didn't feel like this was like reality TV or whatever. Like.
So in between like the challenges, what was that like? What were the processes mentally? Because then you're just kind of sitting there doing nothing.
Yeah. So when we got to the dorms, red light, green light eliminated like half the people. So we started with 4, 5, 6. Half the people had gone.
That's mad.
So we had about 200 people who got to the dorms. So that in itself is a big achievement. So everyone, all 200 people, like mentally, physically tough. Right. That's a given to get through that game.
Yeah.
Because there were like big rugby lads who got out straight away. right? Whereas like, you know, these 50, 60-year-olds who made it through. So
no, there were people as old as that in there.
yeah,
Oh no way.
So it's crazy. So yeah, in the dorms, exactly how it was in the actual show. So we had like these bunk beds, right? And you're mic'd up 24/7, and you're not leaving. You're basically inside. It felt like prison. So you had to find ways to kind of pass the time, because again, they don't show this in the show, but it seems like the games are coming pretty frequently. But actually, we had like sometimes 2 or 3 days in between games, so you had to like mentally just pass the time. So one of my mates, Genu030, he got a load of socks. So we obviously got free clean socks and underwear every day, thankfully.
That's good to know.
Yeah, that's good to know. So he basically got a load of those and made like a football, right? So we played that. There were people playing like catch and like, you know, volleyball. There were people like working out, you know.
Anything to pass the time.
Yeah. But it started to get like more and more mentally tough because the food was, we can talk about food, like that's a big thing.
Yeah, let's talk about food.
The food was like limited. So, you know, I need like at least 2,000 calories. Like I work out and stuff. We were getting less than 1,000 calories. Right. So
what was the food? What actually was the food?
So like in the morning, we just used to get like stale oatmeal. That's it. Right. And it did not taste at all. Like there was no taste to it. And there's no flavoring or anything. So, and a lot of people like couldn't actually get it down. So they would just give it to someone else rather than eating it. But like from my point of view, I was like, this is all fuel. So I was like, yeah, just give it to me. And I would just like get it down.
Mind over matter kind of moment.
Exactly. Yeah. Just get it down. Like, you know, don't worry about the taste or anything. Lunch was like, we'd get like 1 egg with some rice.
No.
And then the best meal there was like, we used to look forward to was like 3 meatballs with a bit of rice. That's it. Right.
And that was the good meal.
That was a good meal. Like that was like heaven. But the meatball didn't taste of anything. It was just like no salt, no pepper, no flavoring, anything. Like it was just.
This sounds like my worst nightmare. I could never.
So we were basically perpetually hungry. We were tired because we didn't have no concept of time, right?
Yeah.
So no clocks or anything. We didn't really have any contact with the outside world.
When did you know, like, okay, now it's time to go to bed? It must be this time. Like, did you try and keep count? Like, how did you distinguish between the days?
Like sleeping, like to pass the time. There was one guy who basically just slept. He would only wake up to get food, and like I don't know what he was doing there. It was just like a massive nap time for him. Like he would just sleep for like 17 hours a day.
No way.
But yeah, so we kind of had to pass the time. But as you know, the games went on, they started to introduce these challenges, like in the dorms, like to eliminate people, and then the social thing came in because like people started to backstab each other and like.
In the show, like the real show, we saw like, you know, there were alliances formed, you know, they made friends with the old man.
Yep.
So with this now, the challenge, was that taken seriously? Like, you know what, we need to form an alliance. Even though you guys kind of knew like it's reality TV, it's a game, how serious did people take that?
So as I said, it was fully immersive when we were in there. Like it didn't feel like we were on TV because you're basically in this place and you had to form alliances or some sort of groups to kind of get through the challenge. We realized that pretty early on. So there were like some challenges where you were kind of in control. So red light, green light, the cookie challenge, the dalgona, we had to cut out of shape. I got triangle, thankfully. So those were kind of in your control. But for the rest, there were like team games and you had to rely on people, etc. But like they also had like these challenges in the dorms where you know, there's one called Jack in the Box. So, you know, the Jack in the Box where you twist that thing and it pops up. So 4 people had to go up on stage and there were 4 boxes. And they said, you know, we need 4 people to come up to volunteer. And there's also an advantage that someone could get into the next round. But the kind of risk was you could also be eliminated. So at this point, my strategy was, okay, I'm not going to go up there, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to stay back and I just need to get through deep. I'm not worried about the camera time and everything. So these 4 people went up and, you know, one of them opened and it said, you're eliminated. Boom.
Wow.
Done, right? So we were all like now tense. And then another guy opened it and it said, eliminate 2 people, right? So he had the power in front of everyone to eliminate 2 people. And then the first person he eliminated was like, oh, I haven't spoken to this person at all since my time here, so bye.
No
so
way.
At that point we were worried. We were like, okay, I've spoken to him like a few times, but like, you know,
Am I safe?
yeah, I would say. So everyone's kind of looking down, and there are like pictures that Netflix released, and you could see like our sort of alliance and group at the back, like 4 of us, all kind of looking down. It's like not trying to maintain eye contact. But we found out that there were like 2 alliances. They were at it each other, like, you know, and that was like the first time it clocked to us that there were like
this is beef.
Indoor beef going on. And, you know, they were like, you know, then he eliminated 2 people, and then this girl went up and, you know, she eliminated like this old man and this guy who, you know, I think the audience were really enjoying, and I've kind of seen that over the last week. So they were comparing them to, you know, the original show with the old man and 4, 5, 6. It was like same sort of dynamic that they were like really tight, and she eliminated both of them. Like, so she was getting like a lot of comments online. So yeah, and they had like a lot of these challenges where the sort of thing would go off and the guards would come out. As soon as the guards were out, we know that there's either a challenge, or they're giving us food, or there's some other thing that's going to happen. We're going to go to an external game. So we were always like on edge, right? So that's why they had like so many psychology checks before, but also after. So after we were done filming, we had like 1 or 2 like calls with a psychologist to make sure we're still okay.
Oh, okay.
Because when I came out, I'd lost like 8 kilos.
No way.
Right? So I'd lost 8 kilos, and it took me a bit of time to get like back into normality.
Life, yeah.
Like, I didn't leave the house for like 2 or 3 days because like I was just like, because you'd been in this place for like 2 and a bit weeks, right? So my friends and my family were like, are you okay? You don't look okay. And so it took me a bit of time to like.
So there was like a physical and mental toll.
Yeah, mental
on you.
Huge. So after the first game, I think that was the only kind of physical thing. And I was thinking, you know, physically you'd be tough, and you know, I was working out loads like 3-4 times a week, like before I got onto the show, like just a week before. So I was like taking this seriously. But actually,
it was more
apart
of
from
a
the
mental
first
game,
it was all mental and like social, right? The third game was meant to be tug of war because we thought they were following the process as per the original show. So red light, green light. Then we did the Dalgona, and then the next one was tug of war. And obviously, for tug of war, you need strength in your team. So you could see like everyone like starting to introduce them to the big players. Like, oh hi, you know, I'd love to be on your team, that sort of thing. So we actually had a really strong team. Like, with the filming, again, they had to, so there were 10 teams, and we were the last team to go in, the last sort of pair of teams to go in. But we had to wait like 8 hours because as reality TV takes long, like the filming, right? So during that time, we were just practicing with like, there was this guy who'd like read up on the exact technique to win tug of war. So he was like, you know, you need to elbows in and like all of this stuff. And then we moved players around to make sure like we had a good balance, like, you know, smaller players, you know, bigger players. So we practiced this to death for like, you know, 7-8 hours. And then we went into the set, and it was a massive battleship.
Oh my God.
You know, the Battleship, the game? Yeah. It was that with massive boats that you had to get into, and you had to play Battleship. And we were like,
we just prepped for tug of war,
yeah, completely blown.
But again, they knew it. They realized, they knew that you were going to prepare for this.
Because they were interviewing us just before. So I went into the interview room, and they were like, you know, so how are you feeling about the next game? I was like, you know, we're sorted. We've got a great team, strong team, tug of war. I think we'll be fine. And then they were like, how do you know it's going to be tug of war? I was like, well, you know.
Watch the show.
Yeah, watch the show. But in my mind, it was like, yeah, that's a really interesting question. What do you think of that? And then as soon as we went into the set, I was like, oh, man, they got us. They got us. And at that point, that was the first game where it was not under our control. So we had to get in the boats. But there was a captain and a lieutenant, right, who had to kind of call the shots in terms of where to fire the missiles.
Yeah.
And we were just sitting ducks in the boat. So I remember, the opposing team fired a missile. It landed in front of me, right? And then one landed just to my side. So after they fired those two, they were like, okay, there's no one here.
Yeah.
So then they moved elsewhere, and I think that thing saved me, right? Because like one hit like into our boat and we were gone.
Yeah.
So we kind of survived that, and then after that, the mind game started to really take a toll, because we then couldn't trust people in there. It got to that point.
Yeah.
Like people were saying stuff, and then to your back, like you know, and I can say this now, like there were two people in our kind of 4 or 5. We were all close, you know, we were calling ourselves a squad, like, you know, we're going to get through. And then, you know, one of these, actually the main player now, who's one of the finalists, for people who were watching, 287, she came round, she put her arm around my shoulder. She was like, you know, I haven't spoken to you in so long. What's going on? How are you feeling? I was like, you know, a bit stressed, you know, blah, blah, blah. It's like, we're going to be okay, fine. And apparently, like 10 minutes later when I went, she was like, yeah, we need to get him out. It's like, it was like,
wow. This is like high school.
It was so intense. And, you know, and money does crazy things to people. Like, people,
I mean, there were millions on the line.
Yeah, 4.56 million. And you'll see that like towards the, you know, episode 8 and 9, where people are just going at it, like they don't care about people anymore. They're just seeing as, you know, money and numbers.
You sort of start off as a squad and you form your, you know, your group.
Yeah.
But at that point, when you're making these alliances, does it cross your mind that, you know what, these are going to be the people that I'm up against at the end if we get that far?
So we thought, you know, might make 030 and the 4 we had, we thought, okay, you know, ultimately we'll have to go up against each other, but you know, we'll get deep. And we were talking about, you know, being the last few, like last 3, we'll have the dinner together, you know, they do the dinner. One of them just like, just stabbed us in one of the rounds. So we got to the top 30 after marbles. And the next challenge was basically you had to pick one person to take with you to the next round. And then whoever gets picked, they have to pick one person. So it was like everyone has to pick one person, and there are 20 spots, and there are 31 people, right? So only 20 can go through the next round. So, so TJ, who nominated himself as the captain, he had a free pass into the next round. So he picked the now finalist 287, and she picked 286. And these two guys, me and my mate, we were part of the squad, the 4, right? We were the ones who survived the Battleship together. So we are looking at each other like pumped. And I'm already thinking in my head, okay, Glassbridge, that's the next game. You know, and at Glassbridge, my strategy was going to be, okay, I'm going to go all out now, come out of the kind of low profile thing that I've been going on. And then, so he was meant to then either pick me or one of my mates, 030. So we're looking at each other like smiling or whatever. And then this guy says, you know, I'm really touched by this guy's story. And I'm just thinking, okay,
what have I said?
Well, I don't think really I've said that, or nor has Ginu. And the guy picks someone else, right? And just before this, all the girls got together, right? And they show this on the show. They formed an all-girl alliance. Right?
Love a bit of girl power, right?
Girl power, but like they said, okay, you know, out of nowhere, you know,
get the men out.
The men are gonna like eliminate us, which is not the case. Like no one talked about that, but we were like, where is this coming from? An all-girl alliance. No one saw that coming, but it was a genius move from them.
It was,
because they wanted to obviously, you know, protect themselves and get themselves through. All the women got through to the next round. 11 men got eliminated that round. And we were just like, there's nothing we could do. Because once one of the women got picked, then she picked another woman. It just kept going until all the women were picked. And then there were a handful of spots left. And then, you know, if they were part of a group, right, they obviously picked each other. And that was it. So there were like 11 men just left on stage.
Wow.
We were like, this is it. So they played a great game. But one of my mates, he's actually big on TikTok from Ireland. He put up a TikTok yesterday and said, you know, a woman played amazing, but imagine if it was the other way around. If all the guys got together and picked up all the women, it would not go down well.
That wouldn't have, but okay, so since the show's been out, like we mentioned, TikTok, I feel like contestants have taken to their socials. They're talking about it, and there seems to be a lot of drama, a lot of controversies that have come out on the back of the show. What's your stance on it?
So, I think a few people are, thinking of filing lawsuits against...
Oh, wow.
Against Netflix and all of that stuff. But I think it was mainly from the first game. And I think I put up a comment on one of the stories online, and it was liked by over 1,000 people, which was, you had to be mentally tough, right, for this game. And you knew what you were getting yourself into, right? Netflix are not making you do this, right? If you found the condition tough, you could leave. And a lot of people were leaving where I agree, it took a long time to finish the game. You had to be mentally, physically tough. So my stance is, it's all fair. Like, we're playing Squid Game, and no offense to other shows, it's not Love Island, right?
Yeah.
So it had to be tough, and it's a big prize money, 4.56 million. So it's not going to be a walk in the park.
Do you think people kind of thought, because it's a challenge, it's not, a show, that it would have been easy and it would be very controlled and you wouldn't be standing out there for 8 hours?
Yeah, I think people didn't realize how real it was. We were literally, I said this before, it felt like a prison, when we were there.
What's the most traumatic thing that happened in there?
Oh, yeah. So one of the things, so it was very dry in there, right? Because we didn't have any fresh air, right?
Okay.
So all our lips cracked, right? And Netflix and the show made it really kind of immersive. So all we had was a toothbrush, toothpaste, and there were communal showers and, bathrooms. So that was it, very bare minimum, right? So all our lips were cracked, and we weren't allowed Vaseline, right? So there were condoms in the bathroom.
Yeah.
After the first couple of days, they were all gone. And no, it's not what you're thinking, right? So people were using the lube from the condom to put on their cracked lips, right? Because we weren't allowed Vaseline, right? I didn't do that, but I waited. But it got to a point where it was ridiculous. So then the production team gave out a tin of Vaseline to everyone, right?
Oh.
But before that, all the condoms were going, and we were like,
there can't be this many people doing the deed.
Exactly. It was like, well, what's going on? Am I missing something? But
were there things like that going on? We saw in the original show, two people getting it on in the cubicle and all of that.
I think that was obvious.
Yeah.
And obviously in the show they haven't shown anything. So if something is happening, and they were doing it very discreetly.
Good.
Yeah. Because with the bunks and the dorms, as the lights go out, that's it. And it's all controlled. So they will tell you 5 minutes before, okay, the lights will go out in 5 minutes, and that's it, boom. And then they leave so we had a piggy bank, right, in the actual show with the money to the top. So they would leave the lights on for that. And we had a big screen with the total prize fund and the number of players left.
Wow.
So those are the only 2 things that the lights were on for. So you would go to bed, and I would try to psych myself up, and so I would look at the 2 things before going to bed.
Law of attraction and all that, exactly. Trying to manifest it.
So it was all kind of the mental, the challenges, and and towards the end, people really kind of going at each other. I think that's kind of the most interesting aspect. For me, I thought coming in, it would be more physical.
Yeah.
Apart from the first game, it was not physical at all. It was mental, physical challenges. Sorry, more social challenges.
It does sound very mentally taxing. Just hearing you speak, I'm just thinking, I could never.
Yeah.
But what has the aftermath been like for you? You spoke about, you didn't leave your house for 2 days. But other than that, what are some of the things that have just been different in your day-to-day life now?
Yeah, I think it affected some people more than others, I think. And that's why the production team were great. We had psychology checks before and after the show, and they were just making sure that we were okay. But mentally, I'd like to think I'm pretty tough. And so I got back into kind of doing normal things, etc. And obviously it took some people a little bit more time to sort of get back into it. But I think in terms of the strategy, my strategy was I'm not looking for camera time. I want to go far. I want to win money. So a lot of the times I wasn't in the sort of controversial things that you've seen in the first few episodes. and all the people who were loud and like, you know, trying to put themselves out there, they were just getting eliminated. So I was like, I don't want that. so I was just being, you know, nice to everyone, and like, you know, I was
kind of slow game.
you know, friendly face, but not too familiar, you know, and that was kind of my strategy. But it got to the point where that elimination happened, the all-girl alliance, and I was like, this is completely out of my hands. There's literally zero things that I can do right now to get through to the next round. So yeah, that was the only kind of tough thing where I was like, okay, there's nothing I can do here. Like every other point, I was like, okay, I'm sort of in control. I can, you know, muster my way through this. Or like even the Dalgona challenge, like it was the cookies that made were really thick. So time was running down, and like I basically came up with a strategy of just sort of breaking it. My heart was in my mouth every time I did it. But, you know, I got through it. So it was kind of, you know, I had some sort of control. At my elimination, I had zero control. I was just watching women. I was like, oh, no.
There's no way that they're going to let me through.
Women power. Let's do it.
So do you kind of feel, because you were eliminated due to something that wasn't in your control, do you kind of feel like it was stolen from you?
Yeah. So, you know, when I came out and my best mate, 030,
I love how you guys like call each other by your numbers.
Yeah, it's weird, right? We actually remember each other's numbers because even in when we did like interviews and stuff in there, we had to refer to each other not by names but by numbers, right? So I was 090, he was 030. So we came out, you know, the night we got eliminated, we talked till about 5 a.m. about that elimination, and we kept saying the same things again. I'm like, it's like
those women.
Yeah. And the guy who didn't pick us over there, and we just kept repeating. And even now, like when the show came out yesterday, I was on
the trauma.
I was on the call with him for like an hour, like reliving that conversation, like literally the thing we did like on the elimination night, and we were like, dude, we need to stop talking about this. Like
it's trauma.
It's literal trauma. But
that is hilarious.
Yeah, it's something I don't think I can get over. Like it's mentally scarred me. But you know,
what is it, after everything that you've been through, the one thing that scarred you is the women ganging up and your squad member
basically
doing you over.
That's it. And
that's, you know, crazy.
Like in terms of the camera time, in terms of the how they filmed that segment of us leaving, like there's a lot of like camera time on me, like just making like, you know, prayers and like, oh, do all this. I'm like, you know, I was trying to keep a low profile. So like in the other episodes, like they've shown me a little bit, but I was like, why are you showing me so much here? Like on my elimination day. let's backtrack a bit. There are other people here as well. So you can see like all the desperation on our faces, like all the men and like, you know, all the athletes as well. Like all basically just like, we can't do anything right now. We were just like looking at each other like we're gone.
This is it. Like, you knew, you accepted it.
Yeah, but as soon as, you know, when the second guy got picked, the third guy got picked, he was part of our squad, we were buzzing. And we went from like sky high to like right at the bottom when he picked someone else.
And that's what's traumatized you.
Oof,
it's that trust that you had.
Trust. I can't trust anyone.
You can't.
I don't even know if this production is real. Like,
I know.
I'm going to get kidnapped after this.
We're going to ink him in a second. Who knows?
I gotta run.
So what about, like you spoke about like the psychology tests, like and checks before and after.
Yeah.
What about during? Like, was there ever like, you know, the production team seeing anyone that was really going through it, maybe mentally? Were they ever taken out like off camera to kind of just be checked up on?
Yeah, I think once you were in there, it was like the game.
Every man for himself.
Yeah, it was all immersive, and like there were a few people. Obviously, they didn't show this, you know, on the show, but there were a few people who just quit. Yeah, but like with all the other stuff that I mentioned, with like lack of food, you know, lack of sleep.
True.
Like for some people, like that was kind of.
It's just not worth it.
It's not worth it.
Okay.
I don't understand.
Would you recommend this experience to others if they were to do it again? Yeah.
So, you know, despite what I've said, all the kind of tricky things, it was one of the most incredible experiences, right? Because I didn't have my phone, there were no distractions, and for once you were in this place where you just had to talk and like get to know people
and just be.
Yes, and like some of the friends are going to be friends for life. Like we stay in touch. We've stayed
030.
030, Gino. We're going to stay in touch, like, you know, lifelong friends, really, because we've kind of lived through that experience, like trauma bonding, right?
There we go.
When you go through the trawler, like, and it's like red light, green light, for example. Like, no one will understand truly. Like, even like speaking to you, you know, it's
I'm
like,
never,
unless you do it, like, especially in that setting, like -4, whatever it was, and you do it
with
for like
the scary doll,
7-8 hours, you won't truly appreciate how tough it was. So that in itself, like, is like a bond that we have. So invariably the chat always goes to a red light, green light. Like, even after like months and months of when we did it, it's like when we're together, and you know, we've met up here in London and lots of the UK squids. Invariably the chat goes to red light, green light. We're like, guys, come on, like we need to talk about something else.
Let's talk about the weather.
Yeah, exactly. So no, but it was an amazing experience. I met people from like all over the world. Obviously there's a big American contingent. So you know, everything is like slightly exaggerated. So you know,
of course,
you wake up and like, you know, how's your day going? Like, yeah, okay. The Americans were like, yeah, man, we're gonna hit the day hard. Like, it's gonna be such a cool day. If we're like, all right, this is too much.
Okay. Too much enthusiasm for the morning.
All the Brits are like, yeah, that's all right.
All right, man.
Oh, yeah, whatever.
Well, it's been absolutely amazing having you here.
Thank you.
I feel like we need to get you back for a part 2 because there's just, I feel like there's, so much more we need to talk about. But guys, if you haven't watched it yet, please do go watch it. And hopefully we will see you soon. You can catch me next week at the same time. Until then, keep it locked to BritAsia TV.